This is Volfstag's guide to Hrungnir. In this guide, we'll go over Hrungnir's character, what unit and equipment to bring, and what happens throughout the encounter. Hrungnir is a melee Jotun with high defense with the ability to paralyze earthbound units for a number of rounds. He is weak to fire and water with very strong resistance to earth. As you can see, the crystals has high defense but is easily taken down by fire. As always, the 4 crystals surrounding the boss has different abilities that needs to be dealt with throughout the encounter. The front crystal near the boss will put a defense down debuff on 2 random units. It will also put a absorption barrier on Hrungnir. The far back crystal behind the boss will paralyze the front unit for 3 turns. This paralyzing effect will apply to earthbound units. The best units for this encounter are the ones that can take advantage of Hrungnir's fire and water weakness. If you do bring units with low earth resistance, they will need a lot of items that can reduce the high amounts of physical damage that happens throughout the encounter. Obviously, by now, fire and water weapons are the best for this encounter. If you don't have many fire or water weapons for your team, any weapon listed here is good as well. As a final note, the Sullivan shield from the Onslaught Tower could be used here as well. It provides some defense and can reflect some of the incoming damage back as water damage. There are a few things that needs to be mentioned about this encounter. As I mentioned earlier, the front crystals put an absorption barrier on Hrungnir. This barrier heals Hrungnir every time a physical attack lands on him. This means every time a melee attack lands on the barrier, his health will go up, even to the point of his health never reaching 0. To get around this barrier, we only bring 1 tank and 4 units that does magical damage. Another thing to watch out for that might destroy your party is Hrungnir's paralyzing ability. There is the rare crystal behind Hrungnir that will paralyze the nearest ground-based units for 3 turns. If he targets your party, he'll stun any ground-based units for 1 or 3 turns. If you use any airborne units like Skuld, Hel, Erd, or Odin, they will avoid the paralyzing ability. My first encounter is using Luca as a tank. She isn't ideal for this encounter as her resistance to earth is below average. My maxed orb Luca has a terrible time dealing with Hrungnir with or without a healer, so I avoid using her for this encounter. My first encounter is using Luca as a tank. She isn't ideal for this encounter as her resistance to earth is below average. My maxed orb Luca has a terrible time dealing with Hrungnir with or without a healer, so I avoid using her for this encounter. For the final encounter, I used Niji as a tank. Her natural high earth resistance and barrier allows her to take very little damage from Hrungnir, despite being affected by the defense down debuff and the paralyzing ability. So to sum up the encounter, bring more than a tank as a melee, bring units that can do magical attacks, and hope for the best that your party doesn't die from the stun lock throughout the encounter. So until next time, goodbye.